Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure presenting to you at the 2021 Strategic Human Resource Management Conference, Developing an Inspired Workforce Through Innovative HR Practices. Today, our team is led by Ms. Carlisha Francisco, and accompanying her are Sebastian Cab, Akeisha Patterson, Karen Lake Bailey, and myself, Khadeen Chariandi Wilson. We present to you on issues in contemporary human resource management, and I have the pleasure of commencing this presentation with a consideration of what is performance management. So what is performance management as discussed on the next slide. Performance management is an ongoing process of communication between a supervisor and an employee, which clarifies expectations, feedback, and reviews results. The process also monitors performance towards strategic imperatives and most often occurs throughout the year. But why is it important though? It is important because it assists with individual and team development. Performance data can also be linked to total compensation and succession planning. So firms can use this information to determine bonuses and individuals who are next in line for appropriate training and coaching. Finally, it identifies gaps so that the organization can implement plans to address these. What are some steps in performance management? First, we have goal setting, where SMART objectives are established, and these can include job description goals, project goals, and behavioral goals. Secondly, we have the actual performance review, where an employee's progress towards goals is assessed and his strengths and weaknesses are monitored. A dialogue is also engaged in, and this includes performance feedback measured against specific goals. This process is also well documented, and this is where the performance appraisal form comes in. Thirdly, we have the performance improvement plan, where the employee is given a description of expected performance and actual performance, and an analysis is conducted to see if a performance gap exists. An indication of any consequences or training is also given, and a plan of action is drafted so that improvements can take place. On the next slide, we will consider some popular types of performance management systems. And this includes the ever popular 360-degree feedback, where information is collected from various levels in the organization, from superiors, subordinates, and peers. Also, we have the competency-based performance management system, which focuses on performance as measured against specified competencies. Thirdly, we have management by objectives, where employees are evaluated based on how well they have achieved respective goals. And finally, we have behaviorally anchored rating scales, where an assessment is done on behaviors rather than specific characteristics. What are some issues in performance management? Because there are issues. We have where the manager rates everyone the same. We have the recency effect, where the manager remembers the most recent performance and not everything that has gone before. We also have personal bias and favoritism. And finally, inaccurate information and preparation on the part of the manager. Let us finally consider some contemporary changes in performance management. And this is critical because performance management is not static. It evolves as the organization changes. So first, we have continuous and more agile approach where firms are looking for ongoing feedback to be given to employees versus just once or twice per annum. Next, we have performance management software integrated with talent management systems. So with just one system, a firm can track an employee's feedback, learning and development, and career progression throughout their period of time with the company. Thirdly, we have coaching feedback versus critical feedback. So organizations are concerned now with more constructive feedback and positive reinforcements versus merely critiquing an aspect of the employee's behavior or work. And finally, we have organizations that are moving toward incorporating employee engagement into the performance management system, and this includes rewards and recognition. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you We have considered what is performance management, its significant steps, types, some issues, and most importantly, contemporary changes. At this time, I hand you over to Ms. Carlicia Francisco, who will take us through training and development.
Thank you, Kadeen. Training and development. This generation values the opportunity to develop and advance in their careers, and as a result, when seeking employment, they look at whether or not prospective employers offer training and development. Employers are aware of this trend, and many have adjusted their budgets to include training and development courses that will aid employees in performing their current and future roles. So, what is training and development? According to Robbins et al., training and development refers to educational activities within a company created to enhance the knowledge and skills of employees while providing information and instructions on how to better perform specific tasks. Training is short-term and a reactive process, and this is used for operational purpose. Long-term, on the other hand, development, on the other hand, is a long-term process used for executive purpose. The aim of training is the improvement of required skills in employees, whilst development aims to improve overall personality of the employee. Importance of training and development. In human resource management, training and development is an important aspect when a company wants optimum utilization of their manpower. One of this is succession planning. Training and development is a key for succession planning of the organization, as it helps in improvement of skills like management and leadership. Motivation. Training and development activities are vital to motivate the employee and to increase their productivity. It also teaches employees how to perform their job properly. It also provides them with tools for them to increase profitability and enhance corporate image. Issues faced by training and development. Some of the issues faced by training and development is dealing with change. Next slide, please. Changes due to mergers, acquisitions, technology, budgets, and staffing are some of the issues that are faced here. Developing leaders. Many work environments are more complex, diverse, and demanding. There's also the issue of engaging learners. And it's a challenge to get learners to attend, actively participate, and follow through on trainings and development courses. Delivering consistent training is another one here. Tracking application skills, instilling conflict management skills, quantifying training effectiveness. Here, professionals need to figure out which metrics to use, how to incorporate them into post-training assessments, how and when to follow up, and how to adjust future training based on the results. Another issue is improving learning effectiveness, as well as demonstrating value to leadership. And finally, adapting training in millennials. This generation may be technologically proficient, but they also tend to lack important skills such as communication, diplomacy, and relationship building. It can also be difficult to provide training to multiple generations. Training and development trends in an industry. Some of the trends that are faced here is that the definition of leader is broadening. A majority of employees in a society now consider individuals to be manager based on their impact, not on their authority or position. More and extra employees now seek entry into management programs, as well as more organization avoids the term high potential. The term high potential is avoided because of their growing lack of enthusiasm enthusiasm to call candidates for accelerated career development high potential, as the word may suggest that other employees do not have much potential, which is not a healthy message to convey. Another trend that is emerging is that there's now a focus on developing individuals, and also management faces a more risk-averse workforce. This is probably due to the sluggish economy and weak job market. Management must assess its own responsibility for this phenomenon and determine if the organization really encourages initiative or risk-taking. I thank you for listening, and I turn you on to Ms. Akisha Patterson, who will be discussing human resource management and technology.
Thank you very much, Kalisha. Human resource management and technology. Have anyone ever thought about what is meant by the term technology? What is its definition? To bring clarity on this topic, this term is explained by Gobler 2003 as hardware and software, the knowledge required to use hardware, page 19. Influence of the external environment on human resource management. It must be noted that the external environment influences the organization, specifically technological development. Technology is noted as a major issue in contemporary human resource management. It is therefore expensive for a company to implement new technological software. However, successful organizations capitalize on these opportunities afforded by technology. Software is therefore tailored to the needs of the organization. Technology and human resource processes. Technology assists businesses in creating competitiveness and can solve the problems of inefficiencies. Next slide, please. Technology has created efficiencies in the functional areas of human resource. For instance, in recruitment and selection, there are software that can assist with the input of applications and qualifications to generate a pool of candidates when needed. This computerized system can make the recruitment process much easier and faster. In the performance management function, the utilization of software can aid this process by allowing the easy identification of performance targets and training needs. Last, but not limited to, training and development function. The social learning exchange software can be utilized to assist the learning and training processes. This software, it is of enormous value to learning and development as it really fosters greater connectivity, which can, say, result in cost effectiveness. Issues in technology and human resource. There are a lot of issues in technology and human resource. With the implementation of the computerized system to improve HR processes, there are issues surrounding these processes, which include, for example, systems failure. Right? As such, management must be aware of these issues and manage them effectively. With the introduction of technology, there's also the creation of misunderstanding among employees. They believe that their jobs may be at risk, or that they will be potentially unemployed as a result of this automation process. Therefore, to remedy this misunderstanding among the employees, they must be sensitized and duly informed of the benefit of new technology to both the company and the employees. I thank you. I now hand you over to Sebastian, who will discuss discipline and grievance. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Akisha. Other issues in human resource management, discipline and grievance. What is discipline and grievance? Discipline in the workplace is defined as the rules and regulations that are implemented by management on employees against established standards of performance, procedure, and behavior, and what the consequences are for violating them. While grievance, on the other hand, is an employee complaint or concern for violation of workplace policy or contract against management. Human resource management and productivity. which looks at training and development and compliance. Human resource management is responsible for improving efficiency and increased productivity in the workplace. Therefore, human resource management is responsible for the training and development of employees in the workplace. Training and development of employees is the systematic process of improving and strengthening the skills, the behavior, the knowledge, and attitude of workers in alignment with their job descriptions, changing environment, and goals of the institution. This is a continuous process so that workers know their roles and responsibilities and improve their capacities for maximum performance. It also enables employees to adapt to change that is occurring within the workplace. Through this process and activity, human resource management provides the organization with a competitive advantage in the workplace because it develops the capacity of employees to improve performance and it prepares them for future roles and responsibilities. This allows employees to transfer knowledge and skills into action, which can then be measured against the job description and establish standards of behavior and performance. Compliance, on the other hand, again, is the responsibility of human resource management. Therefore, human resource management is responsible to ensure that the organization is honoring its legal obligations so that its policies and operations are in alignment with the relevant employment laws and regulations in the areas of recruitment, working standards, compensations and benefits, safety, employee relations, and termination. Human resource management should ensure that the employees receive all entitlements in their employment contract, including empowerment concerning rights and responsibilities. In doing so, human resource management keeps the organization in compliance while protecting it from legal liabilities and damage to reputation. Procedure for handling discipline and grievances. Increased performance and compliance in the workplace can be achieved by maintaining a healthy working relationship among employees and employers, and this is a delicate balance that needs to be managed. Therefore, human resource management must ensure that there is a disciplinary and a grievance procedure in place for violation or breaches that are committed by either the employees or the employers. What are the reasons for such procedures? Disciplinary procedures are needed to, 1, inform employees of what is expected of them in terms of standards of performance or conduct and consequences of continued failure to meet such standards. Identify impediments to employees who are achieving the standards, such as training needs or lack of clarity of what the job, so that they take appropriate remedial corrective actions. To resolve issues without recourse to external dispute resolution processes. Show cause to an employment tribunal or civil court that due process was observed if employees complain about the way they are being disciplined. Grievance procedures are needed too. Provide employees with a course of action if they have a complaint or issue which they are unable to resolve informally. It is intended to provide them with guidance such as contact and time skills to resolve issues. It also resolves issues internally without recourse to tribunal or civil court. Therefore, such procedures should provide clearly defined steps of when and how to initiate disciplinary or grievance proceedings. It is very important, therefore, that human resource management should ensure that such procedures observe due processes at all times so that the rights of employers and employees are always protected. Human resource management should ensure that the proceedings are built on the principles of natural justice, where adequate notices are provided to all concerned parties, where individuals are offered a right to a fair hearing and representation without any bias. This is to ensure that every individual is treated equally, reasonably, and fairly. I thank you, and I now pass it on to Ms. Karen.
Thank you, Sebastian. So now we come to the topic of employee separation. A familiar topic in today's business environment, even if we were fortunate to have not experienced it personally, we have all heard of its effects and outcomes over the news. What is employee separation? Simply put, it is the end of the business relationship between the employer and employee. And this can be by choice. Either the employee selected to move on, which we call voluntary separation, or the employer decided to terminate employment, which we term involuntary separation when you look at it from the employee's perspective. On this slide, we can see the different types classified under voluntary or involuntary. Under voluntary separation, we have resignations, abscondment, and retirement. And under involuntary, we have dismissals, downsizing, and death. What are some of the reasons for separation? From the employee's perspective, they may have obtained a better job opportunity. There may have been a need for a change in career. They may have found another company offering better pay benefits, or the employee had to migrate. Now, from the side of the employer, it may have become an economic necessity. And the perfect example of this is what we have observed during this COVID-19 pandemic, where sectors were shut down and some businesses had no other choice but to terminate employees because there was no longer an inflow of revenue to keep the company afloat. You also have instances where employees were not performing duties as expected, and last but not least, instances of employee misconduct, theft, and fraud. As we move to the next slide, we look at employee separation and the HR issue. Why is it considered an HR issue? Employee separation is costly to the organization, both financially and from a reputational standpoint. When an employee leaves, you lose talent. You have to recruit, and depending on the sector and level of skills that you are replacing, recruitment can be costly, especially if the availability of persons required to do the job is scarce. Retraining as well incurs a financial cost in addition to the loss of productivity. The time you are taking to train or retrain someone could have been better invested in producing output. Last but not least, reputational risk. Tell me, will you want to work for a company that is known for high employee turnover, where workers are voluntarily leaving? Or what about frequent workplace accidents leading to fatalities? No, you would think twice of going to work there. So organizations need to manage the reputational risk. Companies also have to be mindful that when they are terminating employment, the full process is followed. At the end of the day, employees have rights and are protected by the law, so adherence is imperative. Otherwise, it can cost the company a hefty sum in legal fines if found guilty of misconduct during the process. As we move along to the other slide, we look at ways in which we can manage the process to minimize the impact of these costs. So how do we mitigate and minimize impact to the organization and employees? Here are some proactive measures organizations can undertake. Satisfaction surveys. At least once a year, employee satisfaction surveys should be undertaken. These surveys help organizations to self-assess how well they are meeting the expectations of employees and also to identify areas of improvement. Base salary reviews. To retain employees, organizations should ensure that salaries are within industry standards. Recruitment and selection, very crucial part of the HR process, as you'll want to ensure persons with the correct skill set is hired to do the job. Training and development, critical to succession planning and maintaining a skilled workforce. Exit interviews. You don't just want your employees to leave and you're left wondering or assuming why they left. So you need to determine what went wrong and what can be implemented to prevent similar occurrences. This is achieved via the exit interview. Adherence to disciplinary and layoff processes. Regardless of the reason for the employee separation, there's a process to be followed, especially when we are looking at in terms of involuntary separation. So, progressive discipline. We spoke earlier of the employee misconduct. A process needs to be followed. Of course, depending on the industry, where certain instances warrant immediate dismissal, where the facts are upfront and proven. Others may take a while. So when we speak of progressive discipline, we look at verbal warnings, then we go to the written warning, suspension, and then dismissal. The layoff process. Periods of notice as guided by local legislation, advisory of the labor unions, all these need to be factored in. And in more recent times, we have outplacement services where companies are right-sizing. They are not just terminating employees, but they are seeking measures of assisting those employees find new job opportunities through hiring employment agencies or within larger organizations, helping the employee to seek a different role once they have the skill set. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's presentation. We have just presented some of the contemporary issues associated with the HR practices in performance management, training and development, technology and HR, discipline and grievance, and employee separation, for which HR planning must take into consideration given the long-term implications they all have on the organization. I thank you and do have a good evening.